What really gets you into medical school? What really gets you into medical school? When I ask you this question, what comes into your mind? Do you think it is the perfect MCAT 528, 515, 512? Do you think it's the perfect GPA? Like, do you have to have a 4.0 in order to get to medical school? Do you have to have a 4.2 if your GPA is over 5, right? Do you have to have perfect stats, which is everything else outside of MCAT, outside of GPA? If you have Casper, do you have to have the fourth quartile? Do you have to have a 9 on the preview? All of these other little exams that you have to take to apply, do you need those perfect? Do you think you need to have a 3,000 research hours? Quickly, I'm listening. Do you think you need 20 publications in order to be successful in applying to medical school? A couple of seconds to think about it. Also remember that maybe people may think that you need to actually be a business owner or perhaps be a CEO of Google in order to get into medical school. That is also a wrong perception, okay? Maybe you can have a nonprofit or something. Even that is still relatively hard to do. What about curing a disease? Hello, Albert Einstein. Hello. Do you need to have developed a certain DNA gene, CRISPR? Maybe you have developed something like the RNA gene printing, right? Like the guy that took LSD and he figured out how to do the DNA printing. Do you have to be like that in order to get into medical school? The answer is, drum roll please. No. And if you didn't guess it, if you just thought you needed all those to be perfect in order to get into medical school, once again, the answer is no. Now here I am going to tell you what it means. Should you be scared if you don't have any of these? A perfect MCAT, a perfect statistics, perfect GPA, perfect research hours, perfect publications, perfect, business or company, or perhaps a perfect way to cure a disease? You don't. I didn't have any of those. I had an organization that I had set up, but anything outside of that was not perfect. What is perfect though is your story. And that is what I'm going to talk about in this episode alongside with my story. Share a little bit, maybe an excerpt of one of my activities and one of my secondaries to give you an idea of what I'm talking about when it means to actually write your heart out and make sure that your personality and who you are as a person shows more than just your statistics and just some sort of random numbers, which is your GPA or your MCAT or whatever have you. Okay. So yeah, no, I did not get a 528, but yet I got into 2 medical schools. I did not get the perfect GPA. I actually had a 3.75, and I did not have even a single one publication. I didn't have any of those other things that makes you perfect. So how about you stay tuned? Okay, stay tuned to this episode. I'm so excited. And if you noticed anything, we have a new setup. We have a video recording for this podcast, y'all. Woo, woo, woo. Like, I'm so excited to have this as an addition. Just really make it a little bit more vibrant. I'm still figuring out the space and the setup for that, but it has always been the goal. So thank you for tuning in. And if you see this, welcome to my podcast. So yeah, my name is Benedicta, your host of my Planet Self podcast. We talk all things self, all things development, all things growth. And if you want to grow, whether individually or with someone, let that person be me. Let that person assist you, hold your hand through it while you grow. while you go through certain things that may not be the ideal thing. So here we go. And I'm so excited for y'all. Now let's talk about the last episode, right? The last episode, I spoke about my failures, and you will see me reference certain things in my notes. I'm pulling that up now. But a couple of the failures that I mentioned was me not getting the score that I wanted. I wanted something around 510, 515. I didn't get that. By God's grace, I passed enough to apply to medical school. That in of itself is a success, and you should be able to be like, okay, that's an accomplishment, let me celebrate. I didn't do any huge celebration, but that should have caused for a celebration. Okay, that should have caused for a celebration. Another failure that I really wrote down was not being able to read as many books as I wanted to. I read only one book last year. That was a shame. I know that, and I know better now, but thankfully, up till now, currently speaking, I've read 2 books. Come on. I need to hear something. I need to hear a clap. I have read 2 books, and we're in the 22nd day of January. Like, come on, I need some applause. Woo! I need some applause. And it is all thanks to me obtaining a Kindle. I think getting a Kindle was one of the best investment I've done in a while, because reading on my phone, it's nice, it's cool, but a lot of the times it's not really what you'd make of it by just like, oh, I need to just read. You will see me on Instagram in the next 5 minutes, so that wasn't gonna work for me. So definitely getting a Kindle was helpful. If you don't have one, invest in one. Invest in a Kindle. I'm telling you, you should invest in a Kindle. The other point that I talked about was spending a lot of time with God, which I started today. Sorry, guys. I couldn't do it the rest of the time. But being consistent, being straightforward with everything is the most important part. So I told myself I would do 4 days, 5 minutes in 4 days. One day would be 10 minutes. So that would be 30 minutes within the week. Because you need to start slow and then build up from there. So today I read Psalms 41. And what I took away from it was that even if you're going through a lot of stuff, you still should praise God. And the sentence was, and yet I praised God. And yet I praised him. You could be going through a million things, but you should absolutely find the time to praise God. You should absolutely find the moment to praise God, because he is worthy of all praises. Even if you're going through a lot of shit, even if you have a lot of problems, just know that God is merciful and he is worthy of your praise. And the more you praise him, the more likely you are going to get your blessings. That's it. I also didn't make a lot of friends that I wanted to. I didn't make new friends. I already had my friends that I had, but I also struggled staying in contact with them. So this year what I'm doing a lot more is staying more in contact with my friends, taking the initiative to set up dates, really find something to do with them, and not just sit back and have to be called upon every single time. That's laziness. If you want your friends, if you want to maintain your friends, get up, set up a plan. You guys should go. This is not a, oh my God, they don't care about me. This, that. That's just pity patty. Pity party. Who are you? Like, sometimes it's all about growing up, understanding where you're coming from, and also making it a point to reach out to your loved ones and let them understand that you love them. Let them know that, hey, let's do something together. Let's do something instead of always staying in your home. And that is one thing I am trying to do this year, really, is to not just stay at home recklessly and not doing anything. I actually want to participate in activities and do things. So that's what I'm going to do this year. I've already been on 3 dates this year. Period. We don't got time to stay at home anymore. We're not doing that. Not at all. I did not manage to get my money affairs in order. I think a lot of it was due to traveling, but hey, sometimes the time will never come back, but the money will. So maybe do what you gotta do, but do it with, a little bit of care, make sure at least you have something to lean on or something to cover your bills. Okay. And one last thing, actually 2 last things would be the fact that I didn't work out consistently like I wanted to, just because I just hated having to drive 10 minutes to the gym, wait, change, workout, come back. It's not gonna work. It was not. Sorry. It was not gonna work. But now I figured out that, hey, if I don't take that time to go anyway, I'm never gonna work out, and that's gonna affect my health. So I'm doing that anyway. So guess what? You always have to pick up yourself in the end. You always have to do what you gotta do in the end. The very last thing was my language practice. Hallo. Mijn naam is Benedicta. Ik spreek Nederlands. Ik spreek een beetje Nederlands. Ja, ik woon hier in Worcester, Massachusetts. Ik kom uit Ghana. That's Dutch. I'm learning it. I need to get better, so I'm doing better this year. I did not do any better last year, but this year we're changing it. So that was my failures. If you did not listen to that podcast, take a step back. Run. I need to see your running shoes on right now. Maybe have the Nike, Velcro 18, Power 18, all the running shoes in this world. Run to the last episode and go take a listen. And I'll see you here when you're done. Clap when you're done. Kidding. Anyways, onto this episode. Like I mentioned, we are going to talk about what it really takes to get into medical school. Everyone has the opinions. Everyone has all of their think pieces about what they think gets you into medical school. But how about we start with all of the things that you certainly need? One, including your bachelor's degree. Not any bachelor's degree, your bachelor's degree from either the United States or Canada. And even the United States, I think it has to be accredited, which almost all of the universities here in the United States are accredited. But surely do check the schools that you're applying to and their requirements before you do anything. So you need a bachelor's degree. You need the required pre-med coursework. These include biology, chemistry, biochemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, physics, English. Some schools require sociology. Some schools require calculus. Some schools require psychology. The main ones are the biochem, physics, chemistry, English. You have to have them. And you also don't have to have them by the time you apply to medical school. You have to have them done by the time you start medical school. So that's also another thing that I've seen people confused about. When you're applying, you shouldn't have, it's not by force to have the courses before you apply, but it's good to have it just to gauge all of these things, because if you don't have it and you apply, when you're doing all of your secondaries, you have to fill in those forms out, the courses that you're yet to take and the courses that you've already taken. So it's good practice, but if you don't have it, that's okay. Don't fret. Just make sure you have a plan to take it after. So that's beside the courses part. You do need your MCAT, which is a must for everybody. The question is whether you need a perfect MCAT. The answer is no. You don't need a 528. Neither do you need a 518 to get into medical school. It's absolutely good. But if you don't have a 518, are you cooked? Absolutely not. That's the whole point I'm trying to preach here. You need not to have a perfect MCAT in order to succeed in medical school. There are other ways in order to do so. Okay, moving on. Do you have to have a perfect GPA? You do need a GPA, some form of GPA. Okay. You need to have a GPA above 3.0. That's what most schools say is their cutoff point. But should you really fight to be at the neck of 3.0? Absolutely not. But be in a good range. 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, 2.9, 4.0. It's good, you know. Do you need a 4.0 to get into medical school? Also, absolutely not. Will it help? Absolutely. But do you need it? Absolutely not. Do your best. Strive to get to 4.0. If you do get it, great. If you don't, also not entirely great, but it's also okay. It doesn't mean you're dead. Do you get what I'm saying? And when I mentioned a bachelor's degree, it's important to note that as a medical school, as someone applying to medical school, you need to not have like a biology major. You don't have to be a biology major. You can be a history major. You can be an English major. You can be a major. You can have a major in music, vocals, performance. As long as you have those prerequisites, you're good, which is actually more advised to do something you like a lot more than just strictly going to do biology major. Because if you do something you like, you're more likely to study a lot more and get better grades. And that's more required and more recommended than just having a biology major and having a 3.6 instead of a 4.0 if you had done performance as a major. On paper, 4.0 history major is more attractive than a 3.2 biology major. So take that as we will and navigate your life and your plan for medical school according to that. Thank you for your talk. So I did do a couple of digging with some of these blogs that are outside. I have my notes here, but I looked at Blueprint, Shamesian, Med School Coach. All of them pretty much say the same thing. You have to have a good MCAT score, good activities, good. Everything has to be good. That's the key word. It doesn't have to be perfect. Although there are averages that these schools follow along. But I'm here to tell you that if you curate a good story, you are more likely to get the attention of a medical school official than just having like a 4.0. It will get you through the door. But if you have a 4.0 and a 528 and your story absolutely suck, that's terrible. It won't work. Absolutely not. It won't work. And I'll read like the first few lines of an essay to you and show you what I'm talking about here. So once again, what do you really need in order to get into medical school? Truly, what you need is a good enough score, a score that will get you not screened out, get you to the pile of reviews. You need a GPA that will not get you screened out, which is above 3.0. You always want to shoot more than it. But if you don't get that, that's still okay, right? Just try your best to find other ways in which you could use to supplement your application. Things like your essay. And your essays now actually hold a lot more weight than stats. Like stats are perfect. They're good, but they usually help you with the knock. Like you see when someone's gonna get married, if someone go to ask your hand in marriage, I'm talking about the Africans listening to me, they call it the knocking ceremony, right? The man has to go to your family and say, hey, like I'm interested in your daughter, I'm interested in this person. They call it the knocking ceremony, where they actually have to ask the girl, hey, do you know who this man is? And you gotta be like, yeah, I know who he is. So the knocking ceremony is for you to get recognized. To get recognized, you need a good enough MCAT, which a lot of schools have a cutoff of about 495. Knocking ceremony. You always, because of how competitive it is, you wanna always aim higher. But if it doesn't get to that point, that's still okay. Like I said, the MCAT gets you to a point where you are seen. Same with GPA, right? So you get to a point where knocking, hey, I have a 3.5. I'm knocking. I'm looking to see if you will enroll me in your school. Then they can take a look at your other applications, your other essays, your other points of identifications and how you describe yourself the way you are. I got into 2 medical schools, and for me, I don't think I have like all of the answers as to how I got into these 2 schools, but I definitely have to say that it's It's all with your story. It's all about your story and how you structure your story. Your story matters. So if you are planning to apply to medical school, it doesn't even matter whether you've taken your MCAT or not. You need to have an understanding of who you are. And I don't mean who you are as in my name is, I live here, I live here. Who you are in such a sense, in the sense that what drives you to the point that you are in right now? What makes you want to become who you want to become right now? What makes you want to become a doctor? What was that instant? What was that spark that drew you to the point that you say, hey, I want to become a doctor? And that whole picture will actually help you write your personal statement. It will help you with all of your activities. And if you are aware of that, it will even help you choose what activities you want to pick. Because if you know that you want to be a doctor, you are more likely going to be joining, your pre-med club instead of the robotics club, right? Kind of having an idea of who you are. And also, don't forget, write it down, journal it and make sure that you have a timeline. Because when you start writing it, you don't want to be like, what time did this happen? You can absolutely still write your essays without a timeline. It's just more difficult. And sorry, as your big sister, I want to tell you that you truly want to make this process easier for you. Because applying to medical school, whoo, child. Personal statement, 15 activities, of which 3 is your most meaningful. All of those you have to write. You have to also write a lot of secondary essays. So if you, on top of writing, have to still think about the timeline, when you were hospitalized, when something happened, when this happened, it's a lot of work. So save yourself that time. Save yourself that ability to be able to understand that you have a story and you have to curate that story. It's like telling someone else about how your life became and what are those little things that came together to make you who you are. You may have encountered a patient when you volunteered at a free clinic, like I am going to volunteer later this evening, and they may have told you how helpful you have been to them and how that made you feel and how you made them feel. Don't forget the emotional part, because a lot of the time they need to feel that, hey, you are human and you have the capability to make someone feel good. And that's what physicians do, right? They make others feel good. So if you can recall about how a certain doctor made you feel, how you saw them treat a patient, the care, the kindness that they did, write that down, the time, how the doctor did that, the demeanor, how the doctor went about treating that patient, how the doctor went about thinking about that certain disease, and how you saw yourself in his shoes, really thinking how you would also become, how you would treat your own patients when you become a doctor as well. So your story matters. Your story matters. And that's the first thing you should do when you recognize that you want to do pre-med outside of the grades and stuff. Start writing today. Have an idea. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you have an idea so that the moment you start, you know what to pick up from and what to do. Like I said, it's not to be played with. Okay. So I got a couple of comments on Reddit when I posted the fact that I got into 2 schools after I emailed after I interviewed twice. So I interviewed both schools. I got into both schools. It's relatively hard to get into a class of 200, a class of 150, 180, outside of the thousands of people that interview. Let me give you some context. About 12,000 people apply to medical school. And sometimes they interview about 600, 800, maybe 900 people. And out of these 900 people, they have to pick up about 200 max. Some schools even pick 120, some schools 150. So if you're able to get accepted, that is a huge accomplishment. And to get accepted to both schools that you interviewed at, that means you did really well in your interviews, that your everything else didn't matter. Okay. And we'll talk about interviews as well, which is also another really important factor in getting into medical school. Yes, stats matter. Yes, essays matter, but interviews. But moving on, I posted that I had gotten into both schools after both interviews, and I also have a pretty low MCAT score. My GPA is all right, but I have a pretty low MCAT score, and I showed all of these people, and they texted me wanting to know the schools that I got into. A lot of people have this preconception that, hey, if you had a low score, she must have gotten into a DO school. Mind you, both schools that I got into was an MD schools. So I tested them the school names, and a lot of the questions that came was like, how did you make this, the selection, my school list? How did you, honestly, it was like, how did you get into the school? How did you get into both schools with low score? And quite honestly, a lot of it was essay. And I told them that I said, hey, you have to have a lot of hours for activities, but you also have to have great essay. And that was literally the repetition that I said throughout for everybody there. You truly have to have a great essay for both your personal statement and your secondaries. And I think it's time for me to just share a little bit the first paragraph of my essay, which is my personal statement here. I said, at 12 years old in Ghana, I got malaria. My mother usually managed such episodes at home with paracetamol, but this time was different, as my fever was unrelenting and ever climbing. At the hospital, I was terrified, made worse by being alone while my mother had to work. That fear quickly went away when the doctor noticed my nervousness and confusion and patiently explained to me what was happening. I started asking questions about my condition, where my career study took over, and I found myself delving deep into learning about everything in the hospital. I used every subsequent doctor visit to ask more questions and learn more. Through that, I was able to see and examine things through the lens of a provider and became fascinated by how medical interventions can solve patients' ailments and restore their health. So I create this picture of when I was 12 and hospitalized with malaria. How was my interaction with the doctor? What was I feeling? Emotions. Don't just write plain. Include emotions. Make the reader feel something. Use not strong words. You could use strong words if it has meaning. But don't just use strong words because you think the reader will pick up on it and they will just be all of a sudden infantilized by your essay. No, pick words with reason, right? If you recognize, I said at the hospital I was terrified, made worse by being alone while my mother had to work. It puts into perspective what I had to go through at the age of 12, being alone in that hospital while my mother had to work. She didn't have to just go to a party or something. She had to work, and I was terrified. I was alone. If someone is alone, what do they do, right? Then these questions start popping up. They'll be curious to know what I did next, right? So finding the starting point to which you were inspired to do what you plan to do, to be a doctor, is very important. And I also read a lot of personal statements online. I know Kaisha Lawrence, who is a Harvard medical student right now, wrote about her cousin Dimitri. I remember the name because I read the essay, who got leukemia. And she started with how she would make bush tea thanks to her grandmother. Her grandmother would show her how to be caring and really open and kind to others. And then, the cousin passed, but then she still had to navigate through that and all of these other things. So always try to find a starting point to which you, or inspired to do something that you really care about, in this case, to do medicine. It's not an easy feat, and if you're able to do that, you're an angel. Okay, you're an angel. So truly, your writing should be top tier. It should be top tier. But I'm also gonna read some of the essays that really inspired me. It was written by some medical students at Johns Hopkins, and this one actually was like really cool because I thought I could recreate it, but sometimes there are some people that are so good with writing, you just can't beat them. Okay, but if you can't beat them, do what? Join them. I know that's right. Okay, so it starts like this. Just the first paragraph. Even the churning of the broken toilet could not drown out the yelling. I put down the screwdriver, walked to the kitchen, and tried to relieve the tension between my mom and brother. As I spent weekdays preparing items at my mom's house and mediating arguments in my immediate family, I spent weekends constructing equipment for my dad's biotech startup and navigating the dynamics in my step family. This passion to build both objects and relationships, to understand and creatively bridge perspectives, has led me to medicine. In medicine, I have found opportunity to connect with people and invent solutions to their problems through a deep understanding of both patient needs and medical innovation. Perfect lead, because now I'm curious to what happens. I used a situation of me being 12 and hospitalized at the age of 12 with malaria. This person, just him fixing some toilets and him having to break down some fight between his mother and a brother as the way to build his relationships with people and lead him to medicine, right? So it has to start somewhere. You need to be able to figure out where your somewhere starts. Yours could be from like a running race or doing some sort of marathon training, just anything. Like this one was perfect, The first sentence was just like insane. He said, even the churning of the broken toilet could not drown out the yelling. Imagine, like, oh my God, this is the level of creative writing we're talking about. Picture, story, emotions, because he said, I found the opportunity to connect with people and invent solutions to their problems through a deep understanding of both patient needs and medical innovation. And why did he include medical innovation? He include the fact that he tried to stop the argument, but then he was still trying to fix something. And if you read it later, he'll talk about his interest in engineering and all of these technical stuff. He even started a business, but something was missing, which was his interaction with people. This is available online. It's literally called the Sample Personal Statement, comments written by medical school students at the Johns Hopkins University. So take a look. Honestly, it's such a wonderful read. So just don't forget that your essays hold a lot of weight. They hold a lot of weight. Weights that you just may not think it does, because these people read a lot of essays. But that's why your stats matter, because at least you need to be able to get to the door in order for them to even get the opportunity to read those essays. So when we say, oh, you don't need perfect stats, it is true, but you need something. You need something to get you to the door. Okay, you need something to get you to be noticed. You need something to get you to the point where they will be like, okay, this person has a really great grade, but let's see who she is as a person. Let's see what her story is like. Then they go to your essay. They go to your personal statement. They are even more proud of how they moved with your application. They're like, oh, we know she's done well in her classes. She got all A's. She got some B's. She got a few B's. But she also wrote such a stellar essay, and it makes her even more likely to thrive in medical school. And so that is what the picture is like. Literally, that is what gets you into medical school. You get good enough grades, good enough MCAT, and you write stellar essays. And I mean stellar essays. This ain't no small essays. Stellar. I mean stellar. Okay, so that's just the writing aspect. Truly, I think writing, I will shout it to the rooftops. Write, and have people look at your writing. I know someone that I looked at their essays early on. They had written the MCAT 5 times and they still had like, I think, a 502 something. First of all, that's a red flag. Second of all, they submitted their application without anybody reading. Well, they said they had people read it, but when I read it, it felt like no one read it. So have people read your essays, not just anybody. Have your mentors read it, but also try to find a medical student or a resident physician or an attending read it. If you don't have any medical student in your life, if you don't have any resident physician in your life, look at LinkedIn. Find people. Connect. Hey, can you please take a look at my essay? Hey, can you please take a look at my activities? Hey, can you take a look at my secondaries? I think your secondaries all tell stories. Secondary is actually one of the most important and underrated things when it comes to applying to medical school. And it's because it has to be because of the time crunch. You have to submit all these essays. I mean, hundreds, almost 200 essays, individual essays to different schools, all under 2 weeks. Like, the pressure is insane. And people, the way the questions are framed, you will almost likely be annoying because it's like, oh my God, like I've already answered this question in my personal statement. Why are you asking me this again? Varum. Literally, why? ¿Por qué? Why? Because the school asks you literally why you are applying to Penn State. For example, I'm going to show you what Penn State said. Penn State they literally only had 75 words limit, 25 word limit. And Penn State, one of the questions was, explain why you decided to apply to Penn State University. My reason for going to medical school. But you still somehow has to come with a story, come up with something, right? And a lot of them were also really independent on the type of questions you'd see, and it was just all like repetitive. Tough, for example, they asked if you were to, which of the experiences with clinical medicine have you like done? And my clinical experience job was listed as my activities, but you still have to write something, maybe provide a new perspective, right? But the writing never ends. So when we say start early, but also really understand that just because they may have asked you before doesn't mean you shouldn't still put in effort. Secondaries are hard, y'all. Pre-write them. That's a fact. Literally pre-write your secondary essays. And also when you're writing it in real time, let's say you didn't pre-write it, don't rush. And I mean it with all my heart. Do not rush. Absolutely not. That is the last thing that you want to do. You do not want to rush this at all. Because it just would not help you. Okay? It will not help you. Just find a better way to navigate all of these things. Find a better way. You want to find a better way. Certain things are just hard to navigate, okay? Secondaries are one of them. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about, what literally gets you into medical school? Let's say you've crossed the bridge of stats. You have that stats that got you knocking on that family store. You want to get married to that medical school? Get that stats, knocking ceremony. You got that stats. Now your essays are stellar. Your personal statements are stellar. Your secondaries are stellar. The next thing is the marriage. I mean it. You see some people just, they do the wedding for the wedding and not the marriage. Not the marriage, you really have to do it. That's when you interview. Okay? Maybe I shouldn't call that marriage. Maybe I should refer that to like dating or courtship. But Hopefully you get my point. But then we have the interview. Now the interview is the real deal. Some people say, hey, you could still do bad on your interview and still get accepted. That is rare. When you get to the interview stage, they know that you are capable of studying. You're capable of passing. Now, they need to know if you're a real human being. If you are who you say you are in your essays. Because they can tell that you're bubbly, you're giggly, you're this loving, you're this interpersonal person. So now if they see you, they connect with you through an interview, and you don't smile, you don't greet, you don't ask questions, you don't sound interested, they're not letting you into their home. They're not letting you into their home. Like, let's think about it for a second. Like, interviews is literally your ticket, your direct ticket to the medical school. If you don't have the ticket, you don't even have the chance to get in. Actually, let me call it like a standby ticket, like you're trying to fly. If you don't have a ticket, you don't even have the opportunity to fly standby. And I learned that the hard way. So you need the ticket in order to even be considered of actually being a student. Now you're a student, now you're figuring all of these things out, but how do you make that impression of, hey, I promise you I am a good student. I promise you I will do well. You gotta practice. And I mean it. Practice. Practice like your life depended on it. Practice morning, practice evening, practice afternoon, practice daily, practice 6 p.m., 8 p.m., 5 p.m., 3 p.m., 2 p.m., 8 a.m. Practice. Second thing is smile. Like this. Smile. I mean it. You truly have to smile. And I've gotten comments where interviewers that before they interviewed me, they were like, I love your smile. Continue to smile. Okay? Continue to smile. Continue to smile. Thank you so much for that question. Literally. And I'm not exaggerating. Be overly friendly. If you think you're an introvert and you can't even smile, if you truly want that school, and I mean it. Oh my God, yes. Yes, I know, right? I love Worcester. It's such a wonderful city. It's such a pleasant city. Like, wow, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I mean it. Give it a try. I mean it. Be overly smiley. Like, literally act like you want to be there. Act like if they invited you tomorrow to be a student, you would be jumping out of your bed to come. And once again, practice. Practice with your friend, with your uncle, with your auntie, with anybody. Practice with yourself. A lot of the times, some of us hate our voice. I hate my voice. So when I record myself, having to play it back is annoying. So find someone, annoy them, pay them, do all of that. Let them practice with you. It's the best way to get your bunk for your buck. Get your practice in. And moving away from interviews, just know that you want to interact with the interviewers. Okay? You want to interact with the interviewers, whether it's actively, but also through other events. And I'll give you an example. For UMass, which is one of the schools that I got in, I usually go to their Q&A sessions. They have also these special topic sessions. I went to one of these Q&A sessions. I put my video on and I asked a question, and the associate dean was there, and I laughed. I didn't laugh. I smiled. I asked the question. And then come interview day, I was sitting there. I raised my hand. My picture was already there. I asked another question. I'm like, hi, my name is Benedicta. She said, oh, I remember you. So people notice. These school officials notice you. When you go into their houses, you go into them people's establishment, don't go and front your face thinking, oh, it's not an interview, so It's just a Q&A. Every single time, it's literally an interview. It was that first time, it was a Q&A. But guess what? I asked my question. I smiled. The next time she saw me, she said, "Oh, I remember you. I remember you from this place." Let people remember you. And it's at that point that when they go to that admission contemplation room, admission decision room, they can vouch for you and say, "Oh, she's so bubbly. She came to the Q&A one time and she was literally smiling, so happy to be here." So interact with these interviewers, interact with the students. If you see a student, don't be rude to them. Don't be like, "Hey, you think you're all that? Is that why you think you came here?" Meanwhile, you didn't even get it yet. Or doing all that for what? For what? Varum, for what? Literally, be nice and your life will be easy. Be nice, be kind, and your life will be as simple as you can ever be. I think I'll leave it here. So, what really gets you into medical school? Really good interview. Interact with students. Be kind to the students, to the faculty. Ask really great questions during your interviews, because the difference between someone that gets in and someone that didn't get in is someone that is curious to learn more. Ask really thought-provoking questions, right? Get good enough grades. Get good enough MCAT. Get an MCAT that will get you past the knocking stage. All right? And have a good GPA. Write well. That's what I'll end with it. Write excessively well. Make your identity shine and your personality. I always have to curate like comedy in every single word of your essay, but people know you from your essays. They can tell who you are, the type of person you are, based off of how you create a story. So good enough essays, interview, interact, ask great questions, and essays. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed it. This is the first time I'm doing a video of orb shit. Oh my god, I'm so excited to put it up. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave it down in the comments below. And I'll see you soon. Next episode, we will do a recap on what I learned reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Yep. Thank you so much for tuning in once again, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a happy new year. Have a great day, y'all.